Hello, everybody. Welcome to our artist talk for this week. Today with me, I have a really great guest, and I was very excited about this. I told the whole Metakey team when I was talking to them, I was like, hey, guys, I get to talk I'm gonna say your username, BUR0X, or how do I pronounce
Yeah, BUR0X.
BUR0X? And for those who do not know, BUR0X is one of the co-creators and founders of Xerox Society, which is an NFT. I believe it's the first NFT gallery to open up in Canada, in Montreal here.
It is. It is. Especially the first fully dedicated one to NFTs. I guess we've seen all over the world some pop-up galleries, but yeah, we went all out for permanent space.
And yeah, so I'll to those listening, I'll give the floor to Yannick to introduce himself a little bit and introduce Xerox Society to you guys. Yeah, Yannick.
Thanks, man. Yeah, so hi everyone. Yannick, aka BUR0X. Been in crypto since early 2016. Aped in Ethereum early on. Been working full time in space. Since then, I'm currently a product lead at Figment, a big infrastructure company in crypto. And I started collecting crypto art earlier this year, early February. It was my first real venture into art collecting at all. Even if I had a few NFTs before it was also my first real venture into NFTs. And I like to say I kind of fell in the pool when I was just testing the waters. And quickly, I think in April or May, I had one of the top 60 collections in terms of capital spent or ETH spent on super rare at some point. And then I was looking to do more for the space, more than just collecting, because I felt like if we were stuck at 1,000 active collectors and 1,000 active artists, the space wouldn't grow. So I decided to launch with my partner Xerox Society, which is a nonprofit organization aimed at the democratization of crypto art and essentially educating the audience regarding the benefits of NFTs, but also the power of digital art and the importance of digital art as an artistic medium. So we do a few things. We have I like to say the museum in Montreal, because we have much more of an educational approach than a traditional gallery. We don't represent the artists. We host exhibitions every 2 months that are all structured around a given theme. We will then recruit artists that already have a style that matches that theme, and then invite them to create unique artworks based on that theme that they will then publish on Super Rare under their own profile. We run guided tours of the museum. We're open 5 nights a week. So that's the physical component. We also have a virtual gallery on Spatial that kind of mimics the live exhibitions. We have the Xerox Academy. So we wrote about 50 pages worth of content of everything you should know as an artist or a collector getting into space. And we're just about to launch the grants program as well. So essentially, we'll be running cohorts of 12 Canadian artists at a time, getting weekly workshops, mentorship from top collectors and artists in the space. We'll be paying all the minting fees and listing fees for a piece created during the cohort, and we'll be holding special exhibitions with these artists as well. So overall, just really trying to do as much as possible to onboard more people to the space and to help more people believe in what our artists are doing.
What's crazy to me is I wrote down a list while you were talking of all the stuff that you aim to do with the Xerox Society, and as I'm looking at it right now, you're essentially outperforming and doing very well what a university sort of aims to do. Which is, to me, it's hilarious, because from my BFA background, it's like they teach you about grants and such, but it's so limited in the way. And then here comes, at least in specific to your grants program, which I the moment I saw that, I shared it to all my artist friends from from you, Ottawa, because
Awesome.
everybody, like, I've gotten messages where like, what are NFTs, Anubis? Like, is there money in there? And so many people stop the moment you tell them the minting fees and all of that. And so I
Yeah,
sent it to
we'll take the hit.
and oh man, it's I hope gas doesn't stay at the rate it is right
Yeah.
now. It's crazy.
That'd be bad.
It's
Then we're gonna be very generous.
and I remember 2 days ago I was going on Etherscan, and then I go on the gas thing, and then it goes OpenSea Guzzler 12%, and then I see a contract taking up 20%, and I'm like, ah, yes, an NFT drop is happening right now.
Yeah, I think it was costing like $700 today to mint on super rare.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's crazy, and what I think it's also really great is on top of like the gas fees and all the stuff that you guys are providing. It's also one thing that I noticed, and a lot of people will notice through their education, at least a fine arts education, if they're not self-taught. One thing they ask for is a mentorship, right? And to those listening, like, a mentorship doesn't have to be a lifelong mentorship. Sometimes you can get the knowledge you need to get to advance yourself in a week, right? And so you guys are also onboarding that form of education through mentorship, right? And like, I guarantee you, like, that does not exist in the fine art world.
Mhm.
It exists as like assistance, right? And that's about it. And so it's actually
Yeah, I
great.
mean, a lot of inspiration from super rare classes that launched early in the summer.
Yeah.
I was part of the mentor group and really loved the approach. I mean, mentors are there to answer any questions at all time in Discord. When in doubt, just ask a mentor, and you would also be able to schedule one-on-ones with them.
Wait, really?
Yeah. So I thought that was really great. I connected with a few artists that way that reached out for 30, 45 minutes one on one. I just had specific questions related to their art and to the space. And yeah, it was a good experience.
I
So I thought we'd do the same.
I mean, it's great, and I actually didn't know Super Rare had classes at all. Like, that's also interesting. Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty small. It was their first iteration. I think there was like 20 people in it.
Oh
Um,
wow.
Yeah, some solid artists and great mentors as well. But I mean, you replicate what you like usually,
Mm-hmm.
and you know we're partnered with Super Rare for Xerox Society. Um, every exhibition is powered by them. All our artists get to mint on Super Rare. If one of our artists that is selected for an exhibition
Mm-hmm.
isn't on Super Rare yet, they kind of bypass all the creation process or the line, if you will, and get automatically accepted. So yeah,
Oh
not
wow.
trying to steal their idea, but really
Well, it's
building on what they've built.
exactly, and it's like, I mean, if you're giving workshops through these grants, right? Super Rare also gets the benefit because you're taking away the workload off of them of curation, and you're also giving them an outside view from curation, where the team is not the only ones responsible for onboarding artists anymore, right? It's the galleries that are partnered and the museums that are partnered with Super Rare.
That's right. Yeah, and I mean they'll get their chance to speak during one of the workshops as well. You know, I truly believe Super Rare is best in class in the space um, by the way they think about how crypto art should be sold, should be minted, should be represented, and how they treat their artists. So yeah, it's great to be associated with them.
And that's like, even their airdrop, that was crazy. I'm not on Super Rare, and so I bought some Rare before it started pumping, because I was like, I am not gonna miss out on this fucking thing, no fucking way. And it's insane because the Rareable had tried to do the same thing, and it gave an airdrop to people, but in comparison to Super Rare, like, that amount of money was fucking life changing to a lot of people. And
Hmm.
to me,
Absolutely.
that was insane. I was like, oh hell yeah, we're gonna get to see so much more art.
Yeah, well, you know, with a super rare token, with the rare,
Mm.
you actually have something that you want to be part of and really want to curate. I don't give a fuck curating rideable content or voting on proposals. Maybe some people do, but I think, if giving a token to collectors that have a specific mindset that are in for the long run, to artists that have been there since 2018, you get a different token holder crowd and different objectives from those token holders for sure.
Exactly, and it unifies the community, and even for you guys as Xerox Society, it also sort of unifies you because you can all come together with your rare tokens and stuff, and help create stuff on the outside.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, full transparency, I'm really down to apply to launch the Xerox Society space. We'll see. I'd like it to be kind of the storefront for all Canadian artists on Super Rare. We have the advantage, as you said, of working with a lot of super rare artists. I'm good friends as well with Freeze Dry Chief, who is also a pretty big collector on super rare, with who we want to build a lot of this brand and the Canadian ecosystem at the same time. So, yeah, maybe that will work. We'll see.
I mean, I think it's gonna work. It's like I moved to Montreal about a year now, and when I found out Euphoria was in Montreal and a bunch of crypto artists was in Montreal, I was like, okay, cool. When are people gonna start meeting here? And then so far, your Xerox Society is essentially the only hub for these artists to sort of come and meet and have artistic discussions and stuff with like-minded people. And it's like, and I mean, it's like, just from my personal experience being and walking through your gallery and museum, it's like, it's super nice to be able to talk about NFTs and not have your coworkers look at you like you have two fucking heads.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it was important for us to launch in Montreal. Well, first, I'm from here, but it is a great city for this. We're the number one city in terms of number of museums in Canada.
Exactly.
We're the number one city in terms of number of VFX artists and video game designers and graphic designers in Montreal. So yeah, I mean, we have all the talent, we have the artistic openness.
It's actually
we had to make it happen.
It's actually crazy to those listening who don't know. Essentially, Ubisoft Montreal runs out of here, right? My Egyptian kid ass was fantasizing about just looking at a Ubisoft building in Canada and realizing it's in Montreal, right? You have Montreal historically has been known as the Canadian Art Center. It's not Toronto, it's Montreal. It's comparable to New York in its essentially impact on the Canadian art scene and the global art scene, right? Like you said, VFX, like fucking Halle Berry was in Montreal like a few months ago, and even music-wise, Waka Flocka was walking down the streets of Montreal a few months ago, and so. I mean,
there's a bunch more. You have Bethesda,
it's true.
EA, you have Epic Games, among others. I think there's 40 different studios that are represented in Montreal. And you also have Rodeo FX, a virtual effects company that's based in Montreal that employs about 300, 400 people that does all the virtual effects for large Hollywood productions like the Marvel movies, among other things. So yeah, there's a lot happening here.
It's great. So you guys had 2 shows now, and earlier you stated that you plan on every 2 months. You plan
That's
on
right.
doing shows, and then through the grants, you're gonna have workshops and stuff. So to those listening, is the next show gonna be sort of the grant stuff, or is that?
Yeah, no. So the model I think we're going to follow is an exhibition, a major exhibition lasts 2 months, and then the grantees get like a weekend long exhibition.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you start moving on to the next show,
Yeah.
Okay. And then do you guys plan sort of, well, like how do you see like the future of Xerox Society evolving? Like I'm not asking for a roadmap because like that's a meme now, right? Hey, what's the roadmap to your project? But
yeah, but it's a fair question.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, like just like because I mean, like, not everything is concrete, and I, as an artist, and I'm trying to run my own like residency program, and have been doing so for like the last few months, and I've run into my own complications, and so, but like, what do you hope at least the future of Xerox Society evolves into like the next year or so, as you guys like start to pick up more steam and stuff?
Yeah, sure. So, well, on I'd say lower level opportunity, there's a lot of cool shows that we want to bring to the gallery.
Mm.
For example, New City Gas has been one of the biggest nightclubs in Canada for 10 years,
Mm.
hosting the biggest DJ shows. I think we have an amazing opportunity to bring DJs who create NFTs
Mm.
to do live boiler room shows in the gallery. So that could be coming during the winter. Um, so that's one, but I'd say the bigger play would be to decentralize Xerox Society's brand and growth.
Mm.
This is not my full-time job, and anyway, I think to really bring on the next 100,000 artists and collectors, we need to grow globally,
Mm.
and I can't do it alone. So I'd like to create a DAO out of Xerox Society to really strengthen the community, to work with a bit the model, like, repeating the model we've had here, where you have me, a collector, working with Euphoria and Malavita, two
Mm.
great artists from this city, creating essentially a chapter of Xerox Society. I think that would be a cool model to replicate in Toronto and New York and Miami and Paris, so on,
Mm.
where you have locals that are really native to this space,
Mm.
kind of expanding on the vision of Xerox Society, bringing new shows, expanding the shows themselves. So that would be a great goal. Some fun projects potentially around PFPs and collectibles
Mm.
for our guests, for our visitors, and for people worldwide who are interested in our artists. Um, but yeah, bunch of different plans. I think today we're still
Mm.
looking to cement our brand. I think we've built something really special, and this space is really unique. Like, not to take to diss at other galleries that are popping up, but we have a pretty massive space that is dedicated, that is built, with NFTs in mind.
Mm.
And I haven't really seen that elsewhere, at least not in a permanent manner.
I
So, yeah, I'd like this to be known worldwide. Let's see how we can accomplish that.
I mean, I agree with you 100%. It's become Zero X Society has become sort of like an invitation for me to tell all my friends to come in Montreal. Like, yo, if you're ever in Montreal,
Nice.
hit me up. I'll show you the coolest NFT museum you'll ever see. Like, that's become like a line, and it's like I've been sending it to people just because. I mean, from an artistic point of view, there are so many things standing in the way of artists, and what you're aiming to do in being tied with NFTs is like such a revolutionary thing that it's just you guys are essentially doing what every other museum and gallery should be doing but chooses not to, right? And it's like
Mhm.
we've had this discussion where it's like in person before, where it's museums are starting to freak out because money's drying up because of COVID, right? And
Yeah.
all the money's starting, and a lot of the artists are now realizing NFTs are the thing and all that, and so you guys have the edge on all of them. Like you guys have the edge on the fucking National Gallery in Ottawa, the MBAM here in Montreal, like, completely, right?
Mhm.
And it's like, and also in turn, like, you also have the onboarding ability to hit major fine artists who have either tried to mess with crypto art, right? Like Kevin Abosh, Ai Weiwei, because their work is accepted into museums, but also they're paying attention to the NFT scene, right? And so you guys have so many capabilities in front of you. It's actually I can't wait to see how this evolves. Legitimately, I like I.
Yeah. You know what? Another thing that I'd like to work on is I'm very big on
Mm.
the next phase of the metaverse and
Mm.
actually bringing real use cases both in the physical and digital world at the same time.
Mm.
So I'm really going to work on creating that kind of immersive experience where you can live the gallery physically, but also in VR and AR when you are in the museum. Um, I think that's where you need to go to create that kind of completely unique experience that nobody can expect. And it's not just looking at art on screens; it's about living art.
Absolutely, and it's like, I mean, now you say that, and my brain starts thinking of, okay, now RTFX Studios got their Snapchat AR glasses. Are we going to get Xerox Society AR wearables now, right? Because the NFT community is so small that everybody's able to connect and produce and help each other out. That, you know, also like Xerox Society.
Absolutely.
And speaking of collectibles, I actually wanted to ask you about something because on one of my visits to the gallery, I noticed on the desk that you guys had bought those NFT screens, those like mini
The
NFT.
infinite objects.
Yes, those. And the thing that sort of like messed with my brain a little bit was how I was essentially infatuated by this thing being a digital work placed in a physical box. And me knowing it's indestructible but still be like holding it, moving it around. And I realized like it's still interesting that, you know, even though we like all of us try to go for digital works, this object thing has a feel to it, like has an appeal to it. Like, what do you think about that? Since I mean, you guys were the ones that bought it.
I love them. I think it's a good way for people to conceptualize what digital art can be in their home, in their office, in their everyday life.
Mm.
I have three around me right now on my office desk,
Nice.
and I love them. Yeah, I feel like it attracts the attention of people in the gallery. People kind of understand what digital art can be when they see them, which is amazing because very often when they look at the screens, they'll be impressed, but if they don't get the background of the artist or the work itself, they'll be like, cool, it's a GIF on a screen, or that's a nice wallpaper. The most horrible sentence I've ever heard.
It's true. It's true.
But when it's in this little plexi box on that little screen, they go like, oh shit.
I mean, and also I was just thinking about this. You can't touch paintings in museums, but you can touch that, right?
That's true.
Like, and that makes all the fucking difference, right? It's like, and I mean, my brain thinks if we get like haptic feedbacks and like weird 3D shit, that then you can feel it too. But that's just me.
Agreed. I really like the potential of infinite objects, and well, the museum was important because you need to show people that digital art is not just bound to your laptop, to your desktop, to your phone. It can take multiple mediums, which is actually a big advantage versus physical art. You can enjoy digital art, yes, on your phone and your computer, but also on a very large screen, on a dedicated digital art frame in VR and AR, and we'll see even new experiences come in soon. So I'm super excited about that potential. I think I like to think that also one of the biggest features of digital art is that you split ownership and the ability to enjoy a piece, which actually is, I think, a big value driver, because more people get to enjoy it, want it, but only one person gets to really own it, increasing the value of the original one, because more people are using it in their home as their profile picture, as their background.
Exactly.
I think that will be what allows digital art to grow much faster and catch up to traditional art. Just the ability to share it, love it, and express yourself through that art, even though you don't own it.
Exactly. And also, I mean, museums would kill to be able to show the same paintings everywhere at the same time, so you would just get an influx of all the fans at the same time, but they can't, because
exactly,
it's just the painting, right? But this has, I mean, I started thinking about this because I went down a list of stolen paintings one day, and I realized, oh, Rembrandt's only seascape is still stolen. Why not mint it? And just have it be enjoyed by the masses again, since nobody can fucking go enjoy it because it's in some dude's house. you know, some mobster's house. Like legitimately, like that painting has been missing for like over 100 years or something, and you know, like the people that stole it, they're dead, or like yeah, the people that carried out the theft operation, they're dead, and so that painting is sitting in some dude's basement being enjoyed. Right, this dude gets to look at Rembrandt's only fucking seascape in existence, and then here comes this technology that's like, okay, cool, we can just mint it and have
Stay,
it everywhere.
yeah, stay in your basement. We don't need you.
Exactly. And it's like, to me, that's like such a revolutionary thing. And it's like, I mean, we talked about this before, fractionalization, and I think both of us agree that fractionalization is like one of the biggest moves for museums, right?
Hmm.
I mean, I hope one day that they fractionalize the fucking Mona Lisa or like a Da Vinci painting one day.
Well, I think that will be the biggest subsistence and fundraising mechanism for a museum, I think. And art should be owned by the many, right? The Mona Lisa should be owned by everybody who's ever set foot in the Louvre that has enjoyed that painting and for who this painting means something. It's just an example, but I don't see why the museum should keep ownership of it and not necessarily capture its value, but it's an amazing opportunity to make people feel like they are part of that museum experience versus just coming in, taking a picture, and never setting foot there again.
I mean, so you just gave me goosebumps, um, because it like the phrase "everybody should have part ownership." I It's like the perfect phrase actually to describe how why fractionalization of something like the Mona Lisa should happen. And out of all things, I view it not like money is good, right? And that's the aspect the museums will take, but also because I mean, it's such a big part of human life, regardless of culture and country. Everybody knows the fucking Mona Lisa, right? And everybody's been impacted by the fucking Mona Lisa. And so it makes sense that then in turn we would take part ownership in the one in like this historical thing that affects us all, right? Damn, sir.
I,
Damn.
I mean, a lot of, let's say, the British Museum is just stolen artifacts.
It's
Why
true.
couldn't they actually allow people to own a piece of it and kind of give back the value they stole to
Holy
a greater
shit.
cause?
What? Okay, now you're just solving problems. Okay, now you're just flexing. Okay, now you're just flexing. Oh my god, because like I've literally like I've been that's a problem that I've been trying to like think about actively because I use ancient Egyptian mythology in my work, right? And it's like you grow up 18 years 10 minutes away from the pyramids. It's like in your brain, it's in your body, right? And so it's like how do you reclaim that shit that's been stolen? And it's just like goddamn, sir. Holy shit.
Absolutely. Yeah, you could have, if you decentralize a bit the ownership of those artifacts, then who knows? The biggest or the power users of a given museum could have a say in the curation of a given exhibition and say that actually, these 10 artifacts are going to be on showing this time around because they mean something to the people for a given period of time. I don't know, just some thoughts. I think decentralized curation will be important going forward. And
Oh,
really happy with what Super Rare has done there.
oh my god. I am so happy. I'm so happy that you are doing what you are doing. Holy shit. Oh my god. I mean, like to those listening, like, I've become aware of essentially like artists and collectors need to be aware of the cycle of art, right? In order to affect it and change. Right? You need to know your position in the cycle in order to be able to affect it internally without destroying the whole fucking wheel, right? And so I mean, it's great to hear curators and collectors like yourself like say that because, like, damn, sir, like museums hate that notion completely because you take power away from like 100, 200, 300 year old institutions, right? And everybody like at least in the fine art world, it's like how do you fight against the system that doesn't want to change? But here with NFTs and stuff, the system wants to change, and the system is actively changing before our eyes. You know, that's goddamn.
I mean, they're supposed to be nonprofits. The best way to be nonprofit is to have a large group of members having a say in your activities.
It's true. Like, could you imagine if like the Louvre became a decentralized DAO, and people could just actively vote on what's? I mean, oh my god.
I'm down.
Yeah, me too. Sign me up. I wanna vote on that shit. And it's like, man, it's great that you say that, because it again, that not only enhances like the global reach of Xerox society, right, but it also enhances like the workshops and the mentorships that you're doing, because they have the aim of helping out the artist instead of the aim of solidifying the museum first, right? And it's like, that's one big difference. Is like, I mean, the biggest example I can use is Ai Weiwei's name got used for a gallery for a show in England, and then they told him, we're not going to have your show in there anymore, but still remained to use his name for the promotions, right? And you're like, okay, cool, you're going to throw one of the biggest fucking conceptual sculptural like fine artists in the world, right? Like the man's who's been jailed by China and his like $1 million studio destroyed by China, like literally, right? And just fucking, yeah, no, thank you. Like, what? How the and then like I saw that and I was like, okay, cool, no, something needs to fucking change.
You know, it would be insane if museums do decentralize the ownership of artworks, but keep a say in, or let's say a stake in every artwork, and digitize those artworks for token holders or NFT holders of those artworks. Then you could have micro museums as digital spaces where everybody curates their own little museums based on the artworks they've bought from museums. And then let's say the Louvre brand would now live inside 100,000 micro virtual galleries where I could put 5 artworks I bought from the Louvre, but also 3 artworks I bought from the British Museum and 5 from the Museum of Fine Arts in Montreal, and then create my own museum as an aggregate of other museums, and they could get, well, first global exposure, and then people would be more excited to go see the physical one because they saw it digitally.
Holy
I think
shit.
it needs to be explored.
Holy shit! What I mean, all I can say is like, I mean, also we need to get you in like the Metakey Discord. we need to get you in the Metakey Discord, because it's like I mean, like, I don't want to like push Metakey. Like I like to focus on like the art and like who I'm talking to, right? But like the Metakey and the Metacrew itself has grown to like 7,000 people, and so many people that I've talked to are like, you know, individuals working in museums or have connections to like large family collections, right? And so I mean, you know, we gotta get you in there, sir.
I'd be happy to join. I try to say hi in a few Discords when I can. I lack a bit of time, but I'm happy to come chill in there. I think it sounds like an amazing community.
I mean, yeah, it's a great community, and everybody in there is looking for like NFTs with utility or projects that are looking to provide world case use and utility. So it's like, it's a perfect thing. So one thing while you were talking and one thing that I'm noticing more and more as you're talking is, like you said that you have crypto experience, right? But you're talking about a lot of stuff, I mean, quite differently from a lot of the crypto traders or like the people in crypto that have then in turn moved to NFTs, right? And I mean, like, you're essentially one of the first people I know who have said like, yeah, I came into NFTs through crypto and all that, to essentially use or say that, you know, the phrase nice wallpaper is the worst phrase you can say, because not a lot of people like essentially like try to pay attention to what phrases like are actually fucking horrible to say, or like what phrases are like sort of good but also like not good at all, right? And so I was curious about how, you know, and this is an opportunity to those listening, right, and to artists specifically listening, like, since you are essentially, like you said, one of the big collectors on Super, like, what interests you in like art pieces as a collector, like you yourself, right? Not Xerox Society, but, you know, just you.
Yeah, sure. So, well, first, I got into NFTs through art, not through collectibles. So I was never into flip. I fell in
Mm.
love with NFTs because I fell in love with digital art as an artistic medium. Like I heard interviews from Euphoria and Just Look at the Parking Lot. Went to look at their artworks and I was like, shit, I'd like to own one. So it was more about that
Okay.
than moving on from DeFi and what's my next opportunity to make money.
Mm.
So it kind of came from there, just loving the aesthetic, loving the themes that are present in digital art. Um, and I'll look at digital art the same way anybody can look at painting. Of course, I'll look at the aesthetic and the theme exposed, but also who the artist is. Like I really got into collecting because through Twitter, I would just reach out to artists that I saw artworks from, and always ask. The first thing I would ask is, what's your story?
Oh
I
wow.
would never bid on an artwork before talking to the artist because for me the artwork meant nothing or had no value until I understood really who the artist is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, there's a lot of that, just connecting with the story, connecting with what they're creating. Of course, like if you look at my collections, I think I have a pretty consistent aesthetic. I'd say that I go for, which
Mm.
is a bit different than a lot of collectors that maybe will bet financially on a lot of different styles to be sure to kind of catch the right one that takes off.
It's true.
I just buy what I like, and of course, like I do due diligence and research on the artist himself to make sure that there is potential for growth in the artist's work, but it really comes down to what I find beautiful.
I mean, and also like uh, again, you're one of the first people I hear to mention. Like also like one of the first big collectors to mention. Like I talked to the artists before I collect, right? Like, what's your story? Like, that's an important factor because a lot of artists don't get asked about the meaning of the work, and some collectors will come pick it up for like either for flipping purposes or sometimes they just like the work, but they never find out the story behind the work, right? And some artists don't include like in the description like a full explanation, right? And so again, I mean that's really great because it also puts you in contact with the artists so much more, right? And that in turn allows you to know what they like and other new artists that they like, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, first, it's beautiful to become friends with all those artists. It's really opening a different perspective on life and on art itself.
Mm.
Two, I have digital frames at home where I display all my collections at all time. It's amazing to be able to explain to friends and guests like, oh, you like this one? Let me tell you the story about it. It allows me to connect, but also allows people to connect much more with a piece if I'm able to explain how that came about versus just like, yeah, it's nice.
I mean, it's great. Oh, I was literally gonna ask you, hey, have you ever collected any of Chewie's work? And then I click on your Maker's Place and I see Chewie's work right there. Because I'm looking through some of your collections just to see like you're one of the only collectors I've heard who says you collect an aesthetic, right? Which to me just lets me know that you actually care about your collection because
Mhm.
it's far more personal to you that you're going out of your way to like look at the aesthetics out of instead of what's hot, right? Because some of us buy stuff and like some collectors will buy stuff even like high value stuff just because it will boost the value of their collection
Mhm.
necessarily just they don't have to like it, right? And so I mean it's really great.
Absolutely.
And then also
Like maybe I'm an idiot, but I never really connected with generative art, at least so far.
mm,
And it's cost me dearly in terms of opportunity, but I'm really happy with my collection. And if I'm gonna shell out, I don't know, 10 ETH, 15 ETH for something, I really need to make sure I'm gonna love it for the long term. And it's not just like based on my calculations, this should be worth 30 in a month. Um, because you never know. And
it's true.
also, one thing that I'll say is with I'd say one-to-ones that are
mm,
non-generative and especially not collectibles. We don't we actually have a physical analog in terms of value. You're buying a digital artwork for 40, 50K, whatever that's worth in ETH at any given time. You know that kind of opportunity cost, what it would be to buy a painting around that price. So you need to make sure that this is actually what you want displayed on your wall versus its physical analog. I think for generative art and collectibles, they're so crypto native that we have a harder time comparing its value and even valuing it. And I think that's why we're seeing such big prices increases and such volatility in those, because we don't know anything comparable in the real world. So we're just assuming, okay, this is what it might be worth in the future because I'm going to use it in a metaverse for X and Y. Versus art, you know, I have a wall. That's what I want on it, and these are my options.
I mean, it's you actually phrased it perfectly as well, because I've been looking. I did a video for the Metakey about just looking through art blocks, and some of the art blocks I like, and I understand some of the generative art because. I mean, I'll tell you like how sort of I understand, right? Because part of me sees, I mean, like specifically AI, like AI GAN and style GAN stuff. I see it as like this new way of producing source material and foundational works and stuff, right? But also to your point, a bunch of the new generative stuff, like you said, we have no past history to see if it's good, if it's bad, if it's valuable, right? We don't have any of that. Like the closest thing we have is like some of Rothko's, abstract paintings, right? Just a few abstract works. Because, I mean, I know some people would love to argue that some part of abstract is generative, right? Because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm generating it out of my mind, and you're like, okay, cool, but no, right? And so, like, you're right. It's like we sort of don't have like a background or even an art historical background to sort of look at these things and be like, that's bad, that's good, and
exactly.
And I mean, like, I'm right there with you. Like sometimes I've bought into one generative project, only one, and because it looks like faces to me, right? And so to me, like now thinking about it and just saying that to you, I'm like, okay, well that just defeated sort of the purpose of the abstract generative project because I just gave it a figurative thing that I liked, right? It's like I bought it because
I don't think so. I think it's great to be able to connect on some basis with art, whatever format it is in. I mean, even with abstract, some of the top abstract painters always felt something very powerful when they created it. I'm not saying generative artists don't. They mold and create their algorithm based on their the output they're hoping for, an aesthetic they're hoping for, feelings that they're experiencing while they're creating that algorithm. But and that's very personal. I just connect a bit less with those because they feel a bit more like an investment memento versus something I'm more used to. But perhaps also I'd say there's some of those things like collectibles that took me a long time to get in because I had to build a strong thesis around them before being confident to shout that type of money. That thesis is already there for art. For generative and collectibles, it's taking a bit longer. I think for collectibles, I now get it because I understand the importance of the digital self in the metaverse world. But yeah, I'd say maybe I'll get there, but not yet.
And it's like, and also again, like to your point, we're into Twitter's point of saying we're so early. We're so early in this sense of generative works that we don't know how the space is gonna evolve, right? And in 5 years, we don't know what generative projects that both of us might connect with, right? Compared to some of the ones now, right? You never know.
Yeah, exactly. And it still feels a bit random in which ones are taking off, which ones become the most valuable. I think you ask anyone, out of all the projects minted today, which one will be the next to pop up, in a week, in a month? It's hard to say. Even in collectibles, like, okay, a community picked up penguins, nice, but when they were minted, why would those pick up more than, I don't know, the bulls or or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's true. It's like I face this problem a lot when I go on like Nifty 20 or NFTX and
Yeah.
try to look at the low floor pools and be like, what the fuck do I buy? Like, shit. Like, it took me 4 months to bite the bullet on BGANs, right? Because I remember seeing Pranksy on Twitter, like in December, saying, I think CryptoPunks are a nice 2 to 3 Ether medium term investment, and saying, I like, to those listening, and to you, like, I didn't even have enough. I didn't have enough ether to like buy them. If I was like, yeah, cool, okay, I'm gonna listen to you, Pranksy. But so it's like I saw that, like, that phase, right, and then it just like explodes, right, and so I see BGANs and I like BGANs a lot, and so it took me 4 months to buy two, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then literally after buying two, the next day I'm on FT20 and there's like two more projects that I'm like, well, those look cool. I want to buy them. Shit, fuck, I don't know which ones to buy. And that's been like a problem now. And it's like with every project, like you said, like penguins, right? And now there's cats. I was looking on Twitter and there's like Al Capone skulls, which is like a flipped version of craniums with top hats or some shit. And you're like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I guess that their value is random because it's based on a narrative that picks up and community that's built around them, versus art is a bit more subjective, where beauty essentially is in the eyes of the beholder, whereas in collectibles and generative, I think it's really the beauty and the values in the eyes of the many.
It's actually perfectly said. Wow, so you're just dropping bombs today, goddamn. Hold on. Does the BUR0X Society have plans of like doing podcasts or anything? Is that a thing?
I'd love to. Right now, personally, I don't have the time, and we're hiring, more people in the marketing front, hiring
Nice.
more people to run the galleries, everyday guided tours, and at the education part. But yeah, I mean, with enough time and a bit more resources, fuck yeah. Our goal is just to educate people and to help more people see the space as we see it. So any way possible makes sense.
Yeah, like, like you're dropping like truth bombs and knowledge bombs. Like, I think the NFT community would actually benefit. Like, the overall NFT community would benefit just from also, like, again, museums don't have fucking podcasts, right? So it's like one of those things where it's like nobody knows how internally a museum works. I sort of know because I went to a fine art school, and so you talk to teachers, and teachers like pull their connections in museums, so you get to see like the collection room, right? And so, but other than that, like, people don't know, right? And so like, and anybody who's listening, it was like, what do you mean? It's like literally like the biggest example I can give you is like you go to the conservator area of the museum, and everybody's touching the painting. Oh, hands are all over that fucking thing. Legitimate. Like, there was one story where it's like this, I believe, Latin American artist was sending their painting to the National Gallery in Ottawa, and Border Patrol opened it up. It was rolled up in horizontally. They rolled it up vertically and then bent it together and shoved it in the fucking box. I probably right, and so fucked the whole painting. Well, they didn't fuck it, but they just bent it. And so this lady had it on this box, like it's a vacuum table that you wet the canvas and then it sucks it to the table, so it flattens it. And this lady was just like hands all over the fucking thing, like, bolt on the painting. She's like, yeah, this is nice now, it's smooth. And I'm just like, my mind is like, I can't fucking touch this fucking thing, and you're here just fucking caressing the fucking painting, like touching all the fucking, like, like texture. Oh my god, right? And so and then you turn your head and then you see like a 3 million painting resting on the ground, and you're like, this is $3 million. Yeah, that's $3 million. It needs to be cleaned up a little bit. Oh, cool, thanks. What?
Digital art solves that.
Well, it solves that, but also like, you benefit as an artist, right? Like, now I know, oh, okay, I need to be careful who I'm dealing with, how to ship my work, right? and you also learn through a visit like that. Oh, I need to be careful with my archival materials, or like how do I keep my paintings without like fucking them up, right? And so to hear you guys talk about how you deal with your digital art, right? And say Xerox Society starts to buy digital art with physicals, right? Like say you guys see a painting that, like you say, I need to have this in the fucking Xerox Society museum vault, right?
Mhm.
And so people are gonna be like, oh, well then how do you deal with that? And so nobody's letting that information be known out there. And so I think it would be actually cool to hear you guys. I know you're a busy man, so I'll ask you one more question. Before I let
Let's
you
do
go.
it.
And so you're again. I keep saying that you're the first collector to mention these, but you really are, right? And you're making me aware of a few things. And so one thing that you mentioned is you were making a thesis before buying into NFTs. So to those listening who are like me, right, who are just like artists and who just have an art brain, what does that mean exactly, and how does one go like is that something like my head goes like, okay, no way you wrote an actual thesis paper, right? So like what do you mean by thesis? And how does like one go about doing something like that?
Yeah, sure. So, well, first, I think you need to understand the space really well. I'm not saying like I understand it better than others, but it's just taking the time to understand its fundamentals and its primitives really well. Let's say for digital art, my thesis is that the digital art market will overtake the traditional art market within 5 years. Why?
Okay.
Because of killer features that are inherent to digital art and just digital in general, which are, for example, the ability to store and display properly digital art at the same time. So you don't need to keep $1 million painting in an airport in Switzerland and enjoy fake. You can actually enjoy the real thing and keep
It's true.
the NFT on a ledger. You have what I call long tail liquidity. Like if you go out and buy a $3,000 painting in a gallery in Montreal or wherever in the world, you're gonna have a really hard time reselling it at profit, even if the artist takes off, unless the artist becomes so well known that he's in auction houses and you can go through an auction house, but then you're going to need to give 50% of that sale to the auction house itself. You have, as I said earlier, the ability to kind of split ownership and the ability to enjoy. So an artwork becomes seen and appreciated much faster, which increases the value of the original one. And I forget my last point, but essentially that's a bit how I built my thesis around like there is no way digital art doesn't take off based on those digitally native features. Oh, and also the ability to display it in so many different ways. You're not bound to physical space, a museum, or your house. You can have 40 different pieces rotating on your digital frame at home, and you can then share all your files for free with your friends who then appreciate it at home or in VR and AR. So you accelerate its pace of appreciation and the value of the original one much faster that way. And we talked about the Mona Lisa earlier. Why is it the most valuable artwork in the world? It's not because it's the most beautiful one, but it's because it's the one that's been the most seen, photographed, pictured in movies.
It's true.
That that ability for everybody to know what the Mona Lisa is increases the value of the real one, because since everybody knows what the Mona Lisa is, if you own the real one, status comes with it and exclusivity comes with it. So all these packaged together for me make my digital art thesis. For collectibles, I didn't get there before last few months when I understood the value of the digital self, and that because we don't have an analog for that. We know what status is in the real world, but what is an avatar? It's your digital representation of yourself. If that avatar has exclusivity, scarcity, and people desire it, then it has value. And in a world where we will be spending more and more time online, our digital self will be more and more valuable and eventually become more valuable than how we dress, how we present ourselves in the everyday world. So that's another thesis. It's just the increase in time spent online and the value of our representation online. So yeah, these are theses.
Oh, Damn, I mean, I'm gonna start doing that as well, because I like I sort of think to say, like, I agree with what you said on a lot of these points, but I never thought to put it together into like, this is how I go up, this is like my way and my view of why I collect all of these. I'm also I'm a full-time blown artist, right? So I just, like, if I see something that I really like colors, I'm just like, ooh, that's mine, if I can afford it. Right? And so to those listening, again, like, I think it's really beneficial, and like also from an artistic point of view, like, it's good to hear you like explain what a thesis is, because then artists like myself and those listening can then start to look in the space, look at what's happening on Twitter, what's evolving, what's not, and also plan accordingly for the next 5 years, right? So that we're not left behind when this wave keeps moving forward, right?
Absolutely. And, don't get me wrong, a lot of people that add a limited thesis or limited scope to how they approach investing in the space, but it's through art or collectibles, often went with their gut feeling. Felt like, it was okay to spend a few ETH because they liked it or they thought it could be valuable without necessarily being confident in it. I think thesis just allows you to weather, bear markets and drops and, panics much better because you're confident that,
Exactly.
where the world is going to be in 5 years.
Exactly. I mean, you perfectly put it, and yeah, it's like, there's a reason why I myself haven't sold some of the NFTs, regardless of dips, and just because, I mean, I'm a crazy motherfucker when it comes to that shit. So it's like, I don't know if you know the artist Dutch Tide, but he sells, I claim, and I think he's literally the first one to ever sell like a digital real estate NFT, because I own one of his rustic apartments back in October, and
Nice.
my crazy brain, like, I literally told him, like, man, I'm not selling that fucking thing until it's worth a fucking house. And it's
Nice.
like, my brain is like, everybody's like, yo, like, how the fuck is that gonna work? And it's like, I'm so like, my brain believes in that so much now, especially with RTFX getting AR glasses, right? Because if you can tag clothes to display AR, and if you can just through an AR glass, like, start to pick up on people and display stuff over them, then by theory I can overlay my fucking apartment and put my digital apartment NFT over my actual real life apartment, right?
Yeah.
That's my fucking hope. Hopefully it's gonna happen one day. But
I agree.
Well, thank you for coming on here. It was great to hear you talk about Xerox Society and what you guys aim to do with the space, and also how you collect stuff. I mean, you dropped some fucking knowledge bombs. I'm not gonna lie, my brain, I need to go and sit and think about some shit. I really do, because it's like, people don't realize, like, some of the shit's gonna be canon, art historical canon, in 5 to 10 years. I guarantee it to you. And to the people who don't think it, it's like, I know, because the art history dudes that are 70, they're gonna die, and then the 50-year-olds, they're gonna be 70, and then us, when we hit 50 and 30, we're gonna be in control of the art historical canon. And so I guarantee you, this shit's gonna be art historical fucking canon in 5 to 10 years. But yeah, thank you for coming. I put the links to those listening. The links for BUR0X Society are below in the description for both the Twitter, your Linktree, the Discord as well.
Thank you.
Would you like
We'll have a nice website as well. Early October. We have one right now, but it's essentially just a landing page.
Is it going to be the same link?
It will be. Yes,
Okay.
xsociety.com.
So
we're having everything done right now. You'll be able to see all our exhibitions, all the artists in them, access our academy, and more.
That's great. So I'll include the link for that as well. Do you want me to include the link to your Twitter down there, or no?
Yeah, sure thing.
All right, it will be down there. And to those listening, hopefully you enjoyed. I fucking had fun. This was great. This is some knowledge bombs.
Likewise.
And I'll see you guys in the next talk. Have a good one, everybody.
Thanks for having me. Cheers.